Good morning and welcome back to Gaming with ADHD, where today we are continuing our deep dive into the My Little Pony role-playing game from Renegade Game Studios. I am joined today by the pretty silly princess. How you doing today?
I'm awake. Yeah, I'm awake.
Are you sure about that? That's usually my line.
I know, right? I'm post work. I'll be fine. But yes, I'm awake.
Good. Yes, I am conscious. I don't know if I would say
I
awake.
am super excited to learn about equipment.
I mean, who isn't excited to learn about equipment?
I don't know, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it is one of those things where it's like it's not necessarily the most interesting chapter, but I was kind of skimming through it. It does have a few actual like rules related things, so that's good.
I wonder if it's
yeah,
similar to like maybe having a familiar, or is this just like I don't know. What do I know? I know nothing.
You know, you could have read it ahead of time too.
I'm playing Disney Blitz. That sucks all of the rest of my time that I have in my day. I don't even want to cook anymore. I need to blitz.
Yes, folks, this is what you get when your wife is on match 3 games.
Yes. I might have a problem.
Probably.
This is why I delete it for months at a time, and then I come back to it. And eventually I get to the point where I'm just like, I can't keep living my life with an app.
That's fair.
I need to get off the phone and breathe fresh air and touch grass.
Maybe one day I'll join you in that. Anyways,
I could use a walk after this. You want to take me for a walk?
I thought I had to take you. I thought I had to feed you.
You do. So we could like kill two birds with one stone. You could take me to the mall because it's indoors, and then we could go for a walk and not sweat a lot, and then we could get food too. Yeah.
This is my life, folks.
You got silly princess today, so I'm gonna be silly. I might also be a little crazy, and there might be some stabbings involved later. Wait, what? La 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 la. Inside voice stays inside.
And when I say this is my life, folks, I love every second of it. So, anyways, but man, I was thinking about it when I was getting the stream set up. I cannot believe we've been away from this for 3 weeks. But
I thought it was just 2 weeks.
No, we missed 2 weeks, meaning it's been 3 weeks since the last stream.
Oh, okay. Math is hard, okay?
Yeah, math class is hard. 10 internet points if you know what that references.
I do.
You're not allowed.
You told me.
You're not allowed to vote.
I wonder how much that toy is on the resale market.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You all were given a hint.
Yeah, I did give a hint.
So, anyways, but yeah, it's been a good couple of weeks, but you know,
right. I've been sick for most of it.
Yes. You make poor life choices on vacations.
No. Viruses make poor life choices. Right.
Anyways, but it was fun. What's up, Christopher? We did have a good vacation. Thank you for asking. Kim is finally on the mend, you know.
The wedding was lovely, but I had a really nasty cold the entire time.
Right. You go to a tropical island and get a walking cold. Not even like one where it's like, oh, I'm gonna just lay here and die. You know, no, you have to do everything and be annoyed.
I was so annoyed. And then the island's revenge hit. And then our stomach got to be upset for over a week, maybe
Right?
2. Ugh, ridiculous.
Anyways,
But
but
like I said, everything else was lovely.
I know it was like, there is something about a constant 80 degrees. It was warm, but it wasn't uncomfortably warm.
As long as we had that giant fan rolling,
No
bruh,
kidding.
that thing
You
was
know,
great.
the water was a wonderful temperature. Like I had no problem going and jumping in the ocean. We did not do that anywhere near as much as we should have.
I was sick. That's my excuse.
That's true.
And I had to work.
Right. And you had to work. So anyways.
Bye.
All right. Have a good one, Chris. Thanks for showing up. Anyways. But no, it was good. And
Yeah.
Now we'll see how much we get through before leaving for another couple weeks.
Right.
Actually, no. We'll be
a
done.
month and a half.
We'll be done with My Little Pony before then. I will
Sadness.
probably have started Mech Warrior before then.
But I don't want to stop doing videos, Moo Bear. You're actually paying attention to me. Wait, what? All right.
We can probably come up with something. Anyways, all right.
Equipment.
Let's get into this. All right, so folks, real quick before we get started, do make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. If you are a regular fan, hit the like button. It absolutely helps the channel, and we would love and appreciate it. Don't forget, if you are interested in getting your own copy of the My Little Pony role-playing game, there is a link down in the description to Drive Through RPG. It is an affiliate link. They do give a little bit of a kickback to me. But regardless, I am grateful and appreciative of everybody that is here. And
do I get to kick your back side? Yeah. Isn't that what that means?
Always professional here, folks. It's how we roll.
I haven't burped yet. That could happen. I'm drinking a soda.
Anyways, but don't forget, like button, subscribe button, all that fun stuff. And, we will. Yes, exactly. If you don't like the video, hit the dislike button twice.
Yeah, that seems like it would work.
Extra dislike. Thanks for the tip, Malachi.
So much dislike that it's a like, right?
No, shh.
What? I didn't give anything away.
It just removes the dislike.
I know, which is why I said what I said, because it's funny.
No, but it doesn't turn it into a like.
Close enough. Because it's not a dislike at that point. What's the opposite of dislike? Like. Or I guess in this case with YouTube, it's one of those where like you're taking the survey and so you neither like it or dislike it. It's kind of just like meh.
Nothing.
So yeah, it's a meh. Yeah.
It's a meh.
Yeah, there should be a button for meh. Yeah.
I think Facebook used to have that.
I don't think so. I don't
Like,
think Facebook has ever had meh.
No,
you know what I wish Facebook would have? I wish Facebook would have the eye roll. If they could make the eye roll one of the options for your emoji response, I would have used that a bazillion times by now. A bazillion.
That's fair. All right. Chapter 9. Equipment. Equipment, you say? Unlike in some role-playing games, the My Little Pony role-playing game characters don't go out and buy tons of equipment to have around just in case they may need it.
That's like what you do on a daily basis.
Unless that's in your personality type.
Oh, okay. That's your personality type.
Then. And collecting stuff is your jam. Zap Apple Jam.
Zap Apple Jam?
I don't know. I'm just reading the text.
Bruh. Okay.
Anywho, unless it's for a special purpose, even adventuring ponies don't really need to carry much equipment about, since they'd rather use their brains and their words than their hooves with a sharp, pointy thing in them.
What? What kind of game is this? I like sharp, pointy things. Wait, that might be taken wrong.
But sometimes, like if a pony gets
G-rated,
steep
G-rated.
enough to throw it, a normal everyday object like an apple can become a projectile. And of course, things like carts, wagons, rope, and jam jars could be necessary to complete a task. That's where equipment comes in. Most basic equipment can be found in reasonable quantities at a reasonable range of places, and it doesn't take much to acquire it for your needs. If a pony needs something that the game master determines is common enough, they can tell you how to get it, often for free. Sometimes the piece of equipment you want will be rare or hard to find. In that case, perhaps you'll have to negotiate with a neighbor to borrow it, or maybe the game master will send you off on a side quest to go find it. If
Side
the item
quest.
you if the item you want is in a store, you may have to purchase it using bits, and the number of bits you'll have to spend will depend on your wealth. Uh,
Nibbles and bits and bits and bits.
all in all, it can be said that a pony character always has one, basic tools of their trade, hobby, or influence. Two, household items found in an average home in Equestria, including cooking utensils, basic furniture, cleaning supplies, and other simple equipment.
Mm.
Uh, yes, Malachi, as we just read, pots and pans are part of the basic equipment.
Correct. However, I'm thinking it would be more advantageous to be a magical pony because then you wouldn't need the cleaning supplies. You'd just use your magic to clean everything.
That's fair. That's fair. But not everybody gets to be a unicorn.
So if I was a unicorn, I could use my unicorn powers to lift up the pans and bang them and warn people that I'm in danger.
All right, number 3, personal trinkets and family heirlooms. And number 4, access to food while within city limits, especially fruits and vegetables that grow around town. All right, tell us about wealth.
We do not have it. I mean, what? Never mind. Okay, right. What we just discussed earlier. Money in Equestria is measured in bits. However, ponies tend not to worry too much about money. Must be nice. Pony society makes sure every pony has a place to live, plenty to eat, and in general, every pony is cared for. That sounds like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well,
Plenty.
when
What?
when you have magic, sometimes, you get communism with it.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, that sounds about right. Plenty of ponies have some sort of job, but usually this is because they enjoy the work as much as they make a living from it. Isn't that what all the communist countries say? Because they enjoy it, right?
Oh,
Wow.
no,
Okay.
because they're gonna make you do it. And
Well, they're
we
going to
don't need to get
make
into
you
that.
think you enjoy it. Anyway, whatever. But that doesn't mean every pony can afford to have everything they want, right, Brian? Right,
I
Brian?
work for what I want.
Mm. Extra Ugh, I'm choking on my drool. Extra equipment, expensive luxuries, and confetti cannon supplies can be quite expensive. Good thing, too. Let's see. For the most part, player characters can assume they have any items they need to cover their basic survival. Even then, they can probably afford common items like rope, a coffee maker. Ponies probably shouldn't be drinking coffee. Anyway, or a new set of day-to-day clothing, etc. But when they want something expensive, like a new machine, adventuring supplies and gear, a set of fancy clothes, or the supplies to throw a huge party, they need to spend the money. Rather than work out exactly how much money any character has, when a pony needs to buy something, they must make a wealth test. To do this, make a standard skill test using a special form of skill called your wealth status and the usual D20 base die. If the test is a success, you have the money to afford the item in question and can buy it. If not, you don't and you can't. But you may reduce your wealth status by 1 unless you're already at the lowest level. Ooh, homeless ponies. And buy the item anyway. So they're thieves. Anyway, this represents the stretch on your finances. If you get a critical success, you might get a bonus such as an especially good deal. a bonus item, or the item turns out to be a far better quality than you expected, so it's not made in China. The difficulty of the wealth test is determined by how expensive the item is. However, it is up to the game master if the item is available at all. Yeah, you can't just buy a legendary magic item you want just on a wealth test. Someone needs to have ones to sell. Scarcity can also be a factor in the cost as well. Oh, that sounds like economics. The game master might increase the difficulty to buy an item that is currently rare or hard to find. This might sometimes apply to common items, forcing a wealth test for items that usually don't require one. That's interesting. Note that to make a wealth test at all, you must have at least a chance of a standard success. If a maximum result on your base die, D20, plus wealth status die, would not be enough to reach the diff on the test, you cannot attempt the test. Additionally, if another character is also capable of making the test, they may lend assistance in the usual way. But if the test is successful, they suffer snag on wealth tests they make for the next scene, day, adventure, depending on the expense. Huh. So someone who lends assistance may have a penalty for a future wealth test. That seems weird to have that kind of a penalty.
They're loaning money.
So they're in debt.
They're in debt, or
No.
they.
Yeah.
Well, no, it doesn't have to be debt, but it could be, like it strapped their finances. It
Okay.
busted their credit rating.
So hypothetically, they have less to work with because they've lent assistance. Okay. All right. Makes sense.
Correct. And that, again, that's if you suffer a snag. So that's where you roll a 1 on the D20. And so you completely botched the roll. It's not just because you
it's
didn't
not that.
pass
That's
the
not
melt.
what this says. This
Yeah,
says,
it
but
does.
if the test is successful, they suffer snag on wealth tests they make for the next scene. That's what I'm saying. You get penalized for lending assistance
Oh,
with
I misread
successful.
that.
Yeah. But your explanation before this last one where you were messing things up still does make sense because you still have a limited resource for a future scene, day, adventure because you've already lent money.
Right. Like if it's a
Even though they're
scene.
not quantifying how much money everybody has, you still have that. And I wonder how quickly that gets cleared up. Maybe I should keep reading.
No, again, it just says they give you the answer right there. They suffer a snag on wealth tests they make for the next scene, day, adventure, depending on the expense. So
Right, but that's not necessarily something that is going to be reoccurring.
Let me finish. So if the characters are all at Ponyland, okay, and somebody wants a churro, okay, but they're out of money. Me too, but I'm out of money.
Go to Disneyland.
So I'm going to, no, we're at Ponyland, not Disneyland. Duh. Anyways, so I borrow money from you to get a churro. Well, then you're going to have a
lend you
snack.
money?
Because it's an example. But you loan me money for the churro, and so now you have a snag on wealth
because I can't buy my churro for me.
Correct.
So that means you have to share your churro with me.
That's fair. Anyways, but that's just a simple way to explain it. So again, depends on the expense. I need you to help me buy a car. Cool. You're going to have a snag on wealth tests until the next adventure because
that's what co-signing's for.
But again, just using that as an example.
I know, but I'm also trying to figure out, okay, at what point does that get dropped off? The snag goes away. You know what I mean? Like, is it just singular instance?
For the next scene, day, adventure.
So it
depending
seems
on the expense.
Right.
Well, no. So scene is we're at Ponyland.
Yes.
Or let me rephrase that. We're buying churros at Ponyland. Okay. Day, we are, out shopping on the town. Okay, well, because of the expense, it's going to affect all of your wealth tests while you're out shopping. Adventure. Okay, until we've defeated the evil dragon and, and returned peace to Equestria, well, you're going to have a snag because...
Right, and it says it's depending on the expense, so I'm guessing the GM decides this.
Correct.
'Kay.
Again, loaned you money for a churro. Okay, that's going to be a
Look,
minimal impact. That'll
I'm
last
just here to
10
ask the
minutes.
questions, but I don't know how much would be understand by someone who was much, 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 much younger.
No,
'Cause
no,
I'm
you're...
very, very old.
No, again, they're good questions. There's nothing wrong with that kind of a question, especially because you more come from a board game side with me as opposed to a abstract role play side.
Right.
So
Yeah, Costco churros don't exist anymore.
exactly. So you would probably have wealth test snags for an adventure on that one because they're rare and expensive at this point. They're not the dollar they used to be.
I don't even know if they sell them in the freezer section anymore or whatever churros that they used to have on the freezer section.
Whatever they do, it made me sad. That's all there is to it.
Yep.
So
Sucks to be you. All right. Essentially, it is up to the players to decide what they want, and then for the game master to decide if that item is available and what the diff on the test is acquired. Test to acquire it should be. It is also up to the GM to decide when you can try to make another wealth test for an item you have failed to purchase, or how many wealth tests you can do. Successful wealth tests will drain your resources after all. Oh, that also further explains the other thing. All right. Certainly, further wealth tests should suffer snag until the character's funds had a chance to recover. Whether that is a scene, a day, or an adventure, it is up to the GM. Well, I guess I should have just kept reading. Depending on the expense.
Actually, no, this is something that annoys me because this is literally what they just said. They just said it again. So I don't know why. Anyways, because it was literally the paragraph before.
No, I know it was in the paragraph before, but that was in regards to someone who was helping a pony get a piece of equipment or whatever. In this case, it's talking about you and how you're spending your money and how you're going to get a snag on your funds. Anyway, that's how I read that.
Okay.
It is redundant, but it's also showing
it's
you that it's the
referencing
same situation for both people who help you and you.
It's referencing the primary player instead of a
secondary, sure,
or a different player.
Right.
All right.
Commonwealth test difficulties. All right. We want to skip the table.
Yeah. This is just giving you examples of wealth tests. So. Right. And difficulty ratings.
And as it explained, you have to be able to roll more than a 10 or something, roll more than 15, et cetera, total points with your wealth. Is that how that I read that? Is that correct?
Correct. Whatever the difficulty is, then yes, you have to.
So you have to be able to do your wealth status and a D20.
So that's actually what I was going to get to. So wealth status is right here. So essentially you'd get a wealth status of D2, D4, D6, whatever it is. However you'd put points into that, which I don't recall seeing, so I would have to look that up.
It might actually be in the next few paragraphs. Yeah, table 9-2 is wealth status. I don't know, maybe not.
Here,
maybe not.
Let's read about wealth status.
Yes.
Not every pony has as much money as every other pony. Wealth status is effectively the skill you use to make a wealth test, but it is not one you can improve with experience or counts. But it is not one you can improve with experience or and it should be, or that counts towards your essence scores. All ponies begin the game with an average wealth status, except foals, who usually start at financially strained. They don't often have many bits of their own, as someone else cares for their needs. If a pony has a job or runs a business that is doing well, they can choose to begin the game with game as well off with the game master's permission. However, having work commitments will mean they don't have as much free time as the other player characters. Any pony with the wealth general perk increases their wealth status by 1 each time they take it. However, they should create a narrative reason for this wealth. Maybe they have an inheritance or were granted some sort of directorship, maybe even had some luck gambling or working the stock exchange.
When I first read the word directorship, I thought it said dictatorship. Whoops.
I mean, they generally get kind of wealthy too.
It's true. It's true.
All right, then we've got a table with wealth statuses. So again, it's just a skill. So,
So but
D2,
this is just
4,
saying
6, 8, 10, 12.
Right. Got it. So this is the die, but you do roll the D20 with it, correct?
Remember, the basic dice mechanic is you roll a D20 plus your skill die.
Right. So this is your skill die.
Correct.
Okay.
So if your wealth status is reduced, it will recover, but gradually. At the end of any adventure where your wealth status is lower than it should be, you can make a difficulty 15 culture skill test. If the roll is successful, you can restore your wealth status by 1 level. This carries on after each adventure until it reaches the level it should be.
So similar to, I think it was the magic stuff. Is this like a sliding rule on the wealth test modifier?
Yeah, remember, so going back to the table, so everybody is average. Remember, foals are going to be financially strained,
Right.
because they're kids. And so everybody is average. But if you can justify it to the game master, they might let you start off at well off.
Right.
But then if you take the wealth perk, then you can get additional levels. Okay, so remember, perks are your feats. And so you're basically saying
your screen's frozen.
Hooray, I can hear you. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you. It was kind of getting jumbly, but your screen is definitely not catching up to your mouth.
All right. It should be catching up. I see you moving again.
Yeah, I see you moving again. Not perfectly synced, but yeah.
Okay.
Good old internet.
Yay. Actually, Yay. I think I might need to reboot the computer, but obviously we're gonna have to wait on that. Anyway, so if you take the wealth perk, essentially that's a feat. You're just saying, I want to have more wealth. I want to have more wealth, and so it'll increase this skill. But then you're going to miss out on other abilities.
Right. Well, but like you'll use your test modifier, and then you'll get a snag, and you can't be well off. You have to use your average for the next time. Anyway, that's how I'm understanding that.
Well, no. So a snag is where you roll 2d20 and you take the lowest roll.
Okay, but you don't change your modifier?
No.
Oh, I thought that's what that meant.
No.
Okay. I forgot how the snags work.
I am well off, so I get to roll a d6, but I'm going to roll 2d20, and I roll an 8 and a 16. Well, it's 8 plus my d6 instead of 16 plus my d6. Okay. That's what snag is.
All right. Are you? Did you already read if your wealth status is reduced? Oh, no, I think you already did.
No, you stopped me in the middle. That's right.
Sorry.
If the roll is successful, you can restore your wealth level by 1 level. This carries on after each adventure until it reaches the level it should be. So an impoverished character might take several adventures to get their finances back on track. If you fail the test, the game master may give you edge on the next one if you have been reasonably fiscally responsible. The game master can reward player characters with bonus wealth status levels, either permanently or temporarily, if they are granted significant monetary reward in their adventures. Let's
I'm going to
skip.
read about Gustave Le
No,
Grand.
I'm going to skip the examples.
But
In
he's
pursuit of
talking
fun.
about eclairs. Yum, yum, yum,
If
yum.
you hadn't noticed, we skipped most of the italics.
Sadness.
All right, tell us about weapons, aka stabby poke things.
Yay! I'm getting ideas. Oh, wait a second. Didn't you just say that ponies don't have weapons? Oh, I guess it was me who said that. Well, while ponies don't wield them all the time, there are a few historical, magical, and otherwise super rare weapons in Equestria. After all, Canterlot's royal guards patrol with their trusty spears, and the party cannon design did come from a real cannon. Then there are the everyday objects that can be turned into them in case a pony needs to defend themselves and their friends in a pinch. Ooh, do you think they have guns? Or did they end up getting their Second Amendment rights taken away in their utopia? Anyway, where was I? Where was I? Friends in a pinch. Ever been hit in the face by a projectile vanilla buttercream chocolate cupcake before? Didn't think so. Can I have that? I want that.
Not till
These
after we're done.
Yeah, I don't have any cupcake places around here. Anyway, these things are all classified as weapons and have some rules if a pony chooses to use them. Generally, getting hit by anything does at least 1 point of health damage. Wow, cupcakes are brutal. But proper weapons can hurt a lot more. In general, ponies tend not to wander the streets of Equestria armed to the hilt. Well, that seems backwards. However, some dashing swashbuckler might carry a sword, and some ponies carry tools that might be used as weapons, such as a fireman's hatchet. Ooh. Is that one that pony's name is Lizzie, I bet. All weapons do a type of damage, usually either blunt, stun, or sharp, although there are several other types. We'll take a look at the differences in Chapter 10 Conflict. Yeah.
Coming next.
Right. Do you want me to talk about
Yeah.
hammers and bludgeons?
Yes. I'd rather you not get ideas about stabby poke items.
But hammers are fun. Anyway,
Go.
care for a quick game of croquet? Ponies use bludgeons all the time, whether they are mallets, hammers, or any other useful tool for fixing things or playing games. Bludgeons can be held as a one-hoofed melee weapon or wielded in a pony's mouth to keep their hooves free for movement. Ooh, I get to drool all over a bludgeoning tool? Small hammers deal 1 point of blunt damage. Large bludgeons, like a club, do 2 points of blunt damage. Swords and blades. Wait,
Go ahead.
swords. Okay. Knives are common in Equestria kitchens. How else is a pony to cut up apples to make some delicious pie? Axes are used to chop down overgrown trees or cut up firewoods. Oh, at least they believe in deforesting things so that they don't catch on fire and stuff. That's smart. Other bladed weapons, such as short swords, short swords, and long swords, that word's funny, are a bit more uncommon for everyday use, but they do exist if you can find one. Knives and hatchets deal 1 point of sharp damage. That's it. Man, they can be brutal if you hit more than once. Anyway, full swords of any type and fighting axes do 2 points of sharp damage. All right, you want to do spears and pole arms?
Equipped by the EUP Earth Unicorn Pegasus Guard, spears can be held as two-hoofed melee weapon or thrown as a ranged weapon. If a pony is wearing the right type of armor or other accessory for this purpose, they may attach the spear to it for carrying while moving. Any long object with a point at the end can act in the same way as a spear as an improvised version in a pinch. If the wielder uses the sharp end, the pole arm does 2 points of sharp damage. If they use the blunt end, the weapon does 2 points of stun damage.
They called it the pole arm.
Yes, that's what they're called
Got it.
because they're
Oh, wait.
weapons
I just saw
on
blunt end.
poles.
I was just behind. Never mind.
All right. Bows and crossbows. Ranged weapons let you hit someone at a distance so they can't hit you back unless
My
they have one
favorite.
too.
My
Ponies
favorite.
ponies tend not to use such weapons as they rarely use weapons at all.
That's a
Guns are
crime.
mostly unknown in Equestria, and even then they are usually old style flintlocks. So we'll
Ooh.
save detailing them for another supplement. A bow, long or short, does 1 point of sharp damage and takes a free action to reload. A
That makes
crossbow
sense.
does 2 points of sharp damage, but takes a move action to reload.
Okay.
Let's
Do you want me
see.
to read the using weapons?
Go for it.
Weapons are quite a varied collection of things, so they often require different skills to use. Athletics. This skill covers any weapon that needs to be thrown, such as a grenade or a ball. They have grenades, but they don't have guns unless they're. Make it make
Grenades are
sense.
technically
Make it
very,
make
very
sense.
old. Pirates had grenades.
Oh,
Yeah, basically think of
not
it as
not the Molotov cocktails.
well, no. So think of like, you know, like
The
old
old
school
timey
pirate bombs.
cartoons or like
Right.
Bugs Bunny. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know where you're going with
Right.
this.
And
Okay.
that was an original grenade is they would,
Right.
light it
Right.
with a match and then throw it.
Right. So
So
it's like throwing a cannon, but on a smaller scale, and you don't need the cannon. It's got the
correct. But
fuse,
yeah,
and it
and
goes
but then
boom.
also this is I think another one of those signs that, you know, like it's My Little Pony. Why are they talking about grenades? Probably because they took these rules from like GI Joe, you know, and
Yeah,
essentially
but
just
GI Joe's gonna have guns, bro. They're not gonna have
I
just
under
flintlocks,
I understand
from
that.
pirate days.
My point is something like this probably just snuck through editing. Um, and Hasbro probably didn't notice it when it went out.
Sure,
You know, um,
could be. But they made
but
a big deal about there not being that many guns around.
right. Not a lot of guns, but man, we can blow stuff up.
Fantastic.
All right, keep
Might.
going.
Might. This skill covers weapons that rely on strength, which usually covers blunt weapons like clubs, hammers, and truncheons. Axes also usually use might, but the game master might allow smaller ones to be wielded with finesse. Finesse. This skill covers weapons that use swift hand, and agile attacks. This is usually swords and blades. It may also cover the use of small axes, as previously stated. Targeting. This skill covers weapons using your steadiness and accuracy, so it is used for bows, crossbows, and thrown items. Firearms are almost unknown in Equestria, but they would also be covered by the skill. Technology. Some large weapons, like supervillain size, might require computer control to target and fire, as such, they require technology as you are not wielding a weapon so much as operating the weapon's computer system. So much as operating the computer system. There aren't too many satellite laser death rays in Equestria, though. I want one. I want a sparkle laser. Anyway, advanced rule brawn requirement. Heavier weapons require a minimum rating in brawn to wield effectively, especially if they require two hooves. So all pole arms require a minimum of D4 in brawn to use, except spears that may be used one handed, which reduces their damage by 1 point. The game master may declare any weapon too large to be used with one hand and require minimum brawn. All right.
Okay. Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I like that they kind of kept this simple. Clubs, pole arms. Okay, yeah, it can just be used. Or if you're an advanced player, you know, here's some additional requirements to
I
make you
was
think
just
about stuff.
thinking with as advanced as their society appears to be, aka Star Trek communism, they are very backwards with all the other stuff. But then again, I think that plays into the like copy paste of D&D type rules and stuff, and that's very fantasy, old timey.
Well, and it's also just the My Little Pony setting in general.
Yeah, it is more fantasy based.
Right. No, it is more fantasy based, but it's the way this kind of stuff is. Yes, they're gonna put a fantasy spin on it, but they're not afraid, like, because I did try to watch the show, but I think in the first episode, Rarity is like flying around in like some high-tech chariot thing, so it's
Chariot with
like,
wings.
no, it's not even wings, it's like anti-grav and
Oh.
rocket engines or something.
That's awesome.
So like
It's a pony plane. How else is a pony gonna fly around?
I don't know, but point being,
And Rarity does have a unicorn horn, so I'm surprised she couldn't just, teleport or something. But maybe she wasn't
she hadn't
advanced in
learned
magic.
she
Yeah,
hadn't learned that spell yet.
correct.
So all right. As ponies tend to not get into battles, few of them wear much armor. Some wear it for ceremonial purposes or as a symbol of their status and position, but even they don't wear it all the time, every day, as it's actually pretty uncomfortable and hot. Having said that, if battle does occur, few ponies feel comfortable waging into the... I think it's supposed to be
Wading
wading
into the
into
front
the front
lines.
lines without...
Right.
Oh, the editing on this is still atrocious.
I mean,
Rocco...
waging war makes sense. However, I don't think that that's applicable.
It's not.
Use of the word. Anyway,
You don't wage into the front. Anyways. All right.
Yes,
Rockhoof would never be caught without wearing his traditional warrior garb, and Spike would never be caught without wearing his shining armor in his fantasies to rescue Rarity from trouble.
Do you think Rockhoof is supposed to be like Dwayne Johnson in the MLP universe? Wait, what? Okay, Spike never caught without wearing his armor. That's great. Okay.
In his fantasies to rescue Rarity from trouble.
Oh, he has a crush on Rarity? That's kind of creepy.
Yeah. There are two types of armor you can wear. Light armor and heavy armor, although we may come back to this subject in later supplements. As pony ninjas, special forces, and secret agents might have all manner of other types of armor.
See, there you go. Pony ninja trained by Snake Eyes. Woo!
Exactly.
Snake Eyes pony. So
all right.
Be snake pony? Snake pony eyes. Eyes of the snake pony. Anyway.
Light armor is made of leather and stiff fabric and often embellished with embroidery to make it look stylish. Wearing light armor adds 1 to your toughness, but you also suffer a downshift 1 to all athletics, acrobatics, infiltration, and initiative skill tests.
Hence the word stiff.
Yes. Heavy armor is made of plates of steel that glint in the light if you look after it properly. It is exceptionally tough and rather heavy. Wearing heavy armor adds 3 to your toughness, but you must also suffer a downshift of 2 to all athletics, acrobatics, infiltration, and initiative skill tests.
Because heavy.
All right. So, kits, advanced rule. Some skills require the use of tools. You might need bandages to heal someone, picks to open a lock, rope to climb a cliff. The Game Master might allow you to assume you have the right items to use your skills, but you might use this optional rule and insist player characters are properly kitted up. The Game Master can decide if any use of a skill should require some sort of kit or equipment, but they should make the players aware of this before they leave anywhere they can get a hold of one. Anyone with any level of ability and a skill will know what tools they need for any job. If you have the right kit for what you want to do, you are fine. Everything works as usual. But if you don't have the right kit, you suffer snag when you try to use the skill in question. Especially talented and skilled individuals might be good enough to never need a kit, but even an expert will find them useful. Kits can also be useful in other ways, depending on what is in them. The rope in a climbing kit might be used to tie up a villain. The flour in a baking kit might be useful for pranks. Let's see. All right. So then we have a list of kits and, what they could be used for, what kind of equipment they have, forensic kits, medical
That's
kits.
interesting. Are they actually expecting, ponies to go out and find out why other ponies got killed or how they got
Well,
killed? Is
no,
this
but
gonna
look,
be like CSI Pony
again, you are
and all the other things, all
you
the
are
other shows?
locking it too much into a fantasy world that it doesn't exist in.
It's the P files. Trust no one.
CSI MLP.
Exactly. Or how
Anyhow,
about XP files?
XP file there.
But a
I'm gonna give you that one. Well done. All right. These kits can't, some kits can't be carried and require room to work in, like a kitchen or laboratory, as the items they contain are either too fragile to travel, too large, or both. Most kits are quite cheap and require to acquire, taking only a difficulty 15 wealth test. But you can get smaller consumable kits of any type that are cheaper, smaller, and can only be used once for a difficulty 10 wealth tests. Most kits need to be replenished as they get used, but as long as the owner has returned to a town or village recently, they can be assumed to be replacing what they use from any kit. However, the game master might rule the kit has been used up during a long and exhausting adventure in the wilds.
So, like some, pony of a certain age that is a male and works in the trades might need to replenish their monster kit frequently.
No, because that would be
They're
food.
right, but
A
it's
better
all
way to think, no,
it's
better
also
way
a
to think,
tool.
no, but better way to think about it is, say you have a camping kit. Actually, like, was that one of them? Let me see
I
here.
don't know, but I
Give me
I
a
get
second.
I'm trying to be silly, bruh.
I I get it, but I think it's a good thing to explain. All right. So
The baking kit, you're gonna use up your ingredients, the flour, the eggs, whatever.
correct, but like,
Art kit, you'll use up your paints, the canvases will get
okay,
used
so
up,
let's
etcetera.
let's use the baking kit. Okay. Flours, eggs, ingredients, mixer, oven. Okay. So a mixer and an oven aren't going to be consumed.
Right.
Flour, eggs, they do get consumed as you are baking things. So like for like, oh, I bake a cake. Okay, cool. Well, it's just kind of assumed that you replenish your supplies next time you go out. Okay. You get more flour, you get more eggs. Done. But I just catered, uh 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 Rainbow
Sorry.
Dash's birthday party with 200 cupcakes and, sparkle juice for everyone. Well, that's probably going to use up all of the ingredients and stuff that I have in the baking kit. So I would then have to go and repurchase the kit, to bring it back fully to stock. You
I
know.
take issue with you using the word sparkle juice. It sounds like it's not G rated. I'm gonna have to censor you.
Look, I am not well versed in all
In
of
pony,
Equestria, and so
neither am I.
I'm just making stuff up as best I can.
Right. Well, where I was trying to be silly and also kind of interpret things is that, the game master might rule that the kit has been used up, meaning there's nothing left in the kit. And the only thing I could think of that, say an electrician pony would run out of would be their monster.
No, because
So their monster
they
kit.
could run out of wire and nails or
No, no, nobody wants those kits. They want the monster kit. The monster kit is all monsters all the time.
right, but that would be food.
Yeah, we could replenish it, I guess,
But
but
that wouldn't be part of
or the
an
game masters
electrical
might
kit.
wanna say that you've had too much caffeine and that you are not allowed to use that kit anymore.
That's fair. All right,
You'd
tell us
have to
about
go to
gear.
Kits Anonymous.
Kits
Um,
Anonymous.
Gear. Where kits represent a collection of items needed for specialized tasks, gear represents stuff. Brian, you have a lot of gear in this house.
I do.
Would you say you have top gear?
Mm,
No.
maybe not Top Gear, but anyway.
Excessive gear. Um
No.
yes. It represents everything else you might need or want in your daily life, but it also can be special items you might need for missions and adventures that you don't always have at home. You can always assume that any character has a few things they just always carry. For instance, as a teacher, Miss Cheerily will likely have a set of keys to the Ponyville schoolhouse. She definitely have basic teaching supplies such as a ruler, dictionary, and plenty of pencils and paper because you know those fillies are losing all that crap all the time. So you don't need to specify every single thing that your character is carrying all the time. Some ponies may carry a stash of unlikely objects on their person, such as a hidden purse of spy gear or an emergency stash of candy for them to enjoy later. I'm sensing that gear would actually apply to my monster analogy. So,
Yes.
yeah, I just need to keep moving forward and I would have
Usually
gotten there.
usually it seems that when you have a major question, which we still talk about, if
I
we
know.
just keep reading, we'll have
Right.
figured it out.
Yeah, there's a lesson to be learned there. Anyway, some ponies
Which
may
we
carry
won't.
no, may carry a stash of unlikely object on their person, blah blah blah, spy gear,
Sweetie
candy.
drops.
Sweetie Drops used to be a member of a secret organization of monster hunters and would often keep her monster hunting gear hidden nearby in case a bugbear sighting needed to be confirmed. She would definitely have a notepad and pencil on her person, as well as a spy kit containing a magnifying glass, grappling hook, and a special pair of sunglasses so she could protect her eyes from monsters, like Medusa, and look incredibly cool by doing so. You can create gear as and when you need it, but in the meantime, here are a few examples of gear and their benefits. Do you want me to read through that? Or
Let's
should we
go
just do the headers?
like header and
One
like
extra
one
thingy.
item. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So in clothing, there's costumes, which grants edge on deception, infiltration, or performance skill tests when worn in the appropriate setting. Makes sense.
Okay.
Uh, Tools. Let's
I
see.
got
Ooh,
camera used by spies and photographers. A camera allows capture of still images and or video, whether on film or digital capture.
you just wanted to say that so you could say sea turtles.
You know, if one does have a camera with them while swimming in the ocean, there is a good chance that they could take a picture of a sea turtle.
Whether or not it's necessary, on the other hand.
I mean, I saw a sea turtle while I was swimming, but
No,
I
isn't
don't
that
have any
nice?
proof of it.
Right. All right. I think that was it, which is the 2, because we're down already to pets. Meow.
No?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It went from tools down
re-
to pets.
no. Go to the nenext page is
Yeah, just
handles,
so
crowbars, keys.
yeah,
Anyways.
that's all tools.
Oh,
That's
that's all.
all
Okay, I see
that's
what you're
all under the
saying.
category of tools. So we're already moving on to another topic.
Yeah, I do think that is kind of interesting that they literally just hand waved equipment for all intents and purposes. They're like, make up what you want.
Yeah, well, they're calling it pets as equipment. I am now equipped with a cat. Meow, meow, meow,
Well,
meow.
no, I hold on. I'm going back and talking about like the actual like what they give you for tools and
Yeah.
clothing. Those are the only two pieces of equipment that they talk about or gear.
Yeah.
So
Gear. Gears.
But right here, yeah, this you can create gear as and when you need it. But in the meantime, here are a few examples. So they've thrown a lot of weight at the game master to manage that.
Literally, I could be a pony addicted to monster, and that would be my gear, so that I could go monster hunting while on crack cocaine.
Something like that, yes.
Anyway, it's kind of weird, but I'm
All
just
right.
being silly, just like my pretty silly name.
Let's talk about pets.
Why don't we?
This is an advanced rule, so technically optional.
Oh.
But ponies love their pets. Applejack has her dog, Winona. Fluttershy has her bunny, Angel. And of course, Pinkie Pie has her baby gator, Gummy.
Why do I relate to Pinkie Pie right now? I want a gator.
Rainbow Dash has Tank the turtle. Rarity has Opalescence the cat. And Twilight Sparkle has her owl.
Okay, now it makes sense.
Owlicious.
Owlicious? That is awful. That's a terrible name. Now? Twilight Sparkle. Get over it. But it does make sense that Rarity has a cat, because I definitely do like Rarity the most. So she picked the right animal as well.
Sure, we'll go with that.
I want a baby gator and a cat, but then the gator would get big and eat my cat. So that's a problem. And my chickens. Okay, right. Go. Moving on.
If you have the animal pet general perk, you have one of your own, but there may be other ways to acquire one or more. Pets had
complicated
rules to the game and are entirely optional, so it's perfectly fine to just decide on the species, look, name, and character of the pet and avoid the rules entirely if that works for you. Regardless, the game master has final decision on what is reasonable. Animal pets are wild or domesticated animals trained to be companions that can perform helpful tasks. Although you, the player, customize your character's pet, a custom animal is not being created. The pet creation rules allow you to design the animal you want, and you can come up with a backstory for how you got your pet, whether it was through an animal adoption fair or if you found it in the wild.
The cat distribution system.
Yes. You can command your pet to do things. Unless you have a perk that says otherwise, commanding an animal pet requires a difficulty 10 handle animal skill test as a standard action. However, this may increase if the command is complex or dangerous. The pet performs the command to the best of its ability until it believes it has completed the command. You issue it another command, or you call it off. Your pet moves as it needs to in order to complete your command. If you do not command your animal pet, it stays at your side awaiting a command. Only you can command your pet. In fact, they might be downright disrespectful to anyone who isn't you, but that need not always be the case.
Well, now I'm wondering, because if it's an optional thing, maybe you can just have a pet on your character sheet just for funsies, but not actually use it. Sounds like what you can do.
Wait, repeat that?
Like, having a pet is an advanced thing, and it's got a ton of rules, but maybe you have a pet just for kicks and giggles on your character sheet, and you don't do all this crap.
That's clearly neither of us are paying attention today. We are out of sorts. And I say that because let me zoom out a little bit. All right. So under paragraph 2, pets add more complicated rules to the game and are entirely optional. So it's perfectly fine to just decide on the species, look, name, and character of the pet and avoid the rules entirely if that works for you.
Right, which is what I just said. I read it and I understood it.
Anyways, tell us about defining your pet then.
Okay. When you first gain a pet, you get to define it. You pick its form, function, and training, the specifics of which depend on the type of pet you gain. Generally, this means you have an average dog, rabbit, or cat. The basic pet has the following attributes: size of small, land movement of 30 feet, strength 1, speed 3, smarts 2, social 2, gain the animal perk, and +3 to evasion. when you get to spend advancement points on your pet to build it into something a little different. Oh, then you get to. You can keep it as a dog, cat, rabbit, etc. It might be an exceptionally large one or have wings, but you might easily customize it into a dragon by adding wings and scales, or a lion by adding it to its size and giving it an attack. It is up to you what you do, but the game master is very much allowed to veto anything too crazy. To customize your pet, you begin with 4 advances. With 1 advance, you may add wings, make your pet amphibious, increase its speed, decrease its size category by 1 step, increase its size category by decrease and increase its size. Okay. Increase an essence score by 1 or gain an animal perk. Do you want me to read this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Small animals are swift. Large ones are tough. So each time you drop a size category, you can increase their speed. Every time you increase the size category, you increase their strength. However, you can't bounce up and down collecting speed and strength. You lose the benefits of a large size when you get a smaller and vice versa. If your pet's animal type is not restricted to things of that size, but your pet's animal type is not restricted to things of that size. If you want a tiny dragon or a huge rabbit as a pet, that's fine. Anyway, pets and skills. You want to do that, dear?
Okay. Let's see here. All right. The usual skill rules assume you are dealing with a pony or other sentient player character. Animals pick skills in the same way and from the same list, but how those skills work is a little different. Strength skills. These work in pretty much the same way as usual. If they have a claw or bite attack, it will use might to hit. Speed skills. Most of these work in the same way. If the animal has a stinger or tail attack, that will use finesse. A breath weapon or dart attack will use targeting.
Breath weapon.
Driving. Animal pets can only operate vehicles specifically designed for animals of their size and form. Such vehicles are extremely rare. Ponies with pets drive a carriage or control a hot air balloon, while a pet donkey or cow can pull a wagon. They are using brawn to do so, not the driving skill. Infiltration. Animals are good at sneaking, but not disguise or safe cracking unless they are highly skilled and very clever. Smart skills. Alertness and survival work just the same, but culture, science, and technology are very different. Animal pets can be trained for tasks related to these skills, but they don't understand the context of their training. So they might use technology to flip the right switch, but they don't understand how to wire a plug.
Disappointing.
Social skills. Animals can only use social skills on other animals, and even then, only basic sentiments. However, they can use performance to dance or do circus tricks.
Dance,
All right.
monkey, dance.
Once you have picked your advances, you should describe in detail your pet or pets to make sense of all these different perks and attributes. Just like a pony, your pet has a skill point for each point of essence it has, and those work in the same way. If you bought an attack, make sure you have at least some skill in the correct skill for that attack. Also, don't forget to give it a name. Animal perks. We're going to just look at this real quick. So again, feats, but for animals.
Excuse me.
So acute sense, agreeable, always alert, assistant, favorite command.
Would you say that another one could be a cute sense because it knows it's cute? Come on.
No, that was funny. All right. More advanced rules. Houses and homes.
I almost thought you were going to say houses and hoes. Hoes and houses?
I don't think that's part of My Little Pony.
Ah, dang. While not part of personal equipment, you should also consider where your pony lives. Every pony begins the game with a home of their own. A reasonably sized cottage in the same town usually Ponyville. The cottage is basically one large room with a kitchen and a living area, and it's usually enough for most ponies. So it's a condo. But as your pony gains fame and fortune, you may wish to improve your abode. This might be by adding extensions or even buying or building a new house entirely. The following is designed to offer you a very basic set of options to develop your home. Consider it an optional starting point and a general guide for expanding the property. Each time your opponent gains a level in their role, they may add an improvement to their home. Each improvement can do one of three things: add a new room, kit out a room, add 10 square feet of garden. Ooh. Add a room. You increase the size of your house by another ordinary room. An ordinary room can be a bedroom, sitting room, study, or just an empty storage room. It is up to you where these new rooms go. You might spread out the house like a mansion, pile them up to make a tower, or build them into a palace. It is assumed that all new rooms connect in some way to suit your design with doors, stairs, and hallways, etc. That is just like Minecraft. Upgrade a room.
Yeah.
You may make a room you already have special in some way. This might be turning it into a laboratory, medical center, professional kitchen, or art studio. Essentially, you pick a kit and turn the room into one big version of it. So, a medical center would allow you to assume that you have medical kits as long as you are in it. Increase garden. Everyone likes a little greenery, and this option increases your garden by 10 square feet. The garden might be an open park, a maze full of statues, or a safari park. It's up to you what you put in it and how big it gets. Some ponies might focus on building their garden more than their house. New rooms can be placed in the garden instead of improving the main house, as small gatehouses, sheds, she sheds, etc. So, like, instead of property brothers, it'd be property ponies.
Yes. So, all right. This is actually something that
This old cottage.
this old barn.
Well, but they call them cottages. They're not called barns in this because that doesn't make it sound nice.
That's true. That's true. Anyways, no, so here's the funny thing. For kids, I think that, like, I don't think this is an advanced rule. I think this is something you could absolutely have fun with, with little kids. It's like, okay, hey, we went up a level, so now you get to improve your pony house. Think about it. Kids are going to be drawing stuff like that all the time. You could easily have an extra page on your character sheet that is the pony house, and every time they level up, they get to add something to it.
It kind of reminds me of when I was younger and I played MASH with the other girls, and we determined if we were going to live in a mansion, an apartment. What was the S? What was
Shack,
the S one?
and then
Shack.
Right, but
Anyway.
but yeah, so but again, I think, like, it says that this is an advanced rule. I think this is a quote unquote basic rule and absolutely should be used with kids.
Well, and also because we already talked about it in the equipment stuff where, we talked about kits, that makes more sense to have kits because you'll have a place for it to go.
Well,
not all the kits are something you shove in a backpack and take with you.
Correct.
On an adventure.
And so
some of these kits need to be in a kitchen, a larger kitchen.
Right. I've got the baking kit that includes a blender and an oven. Where am I going to put those? In the house. No, but again, I think it's something that could be easily done with kids, and I would literally add that as part of the character sheet. You've got your pony, you've got your magic spell list, and you've got the page to draw your house on. I am 1,000% for this. I don't know why.
It's probably because I said the word Minecraft.
Minecraft is an easy way to think about it. So,
all right, are we talking about conflicts today?
We are talking about conflicts today. So
I feel conflicted about that.
You're conflicted about that.
All right. Do you want me to read the bubble?
Please.
Equestria is an enchanted land with rich history and exciting areas to explore, but it's not all cupcakes and fashion shows. Again, I am disappointed. For all the art, wonder, and magic, there are monsters, mysteries, and magic. What about mayhem? That's an M word. Magic is unpredictable. That's why it's on both lists. Even when it is a cupcake and fashion shows, there are baking competition and rivalries between designers that can get pretty competitive. Whether you need to resolve a dispute or you're standing up to defend Equestria against threats to happiness and freedom, this chapter has you covered.
All right. So this is our combat section.
Arr.
What is a conflict? Some days everything goes according to plans. You accomplish what you set out to and it's all super easy. Chill even.
Bruh.
But other days, getting out of bed is a struggle, and making breakfast without setting your kitchen on fire takes effort, even if you're having hay flakes. Whatever you
Case
need,
in point, I did break something in the kitchen this morning.
you did. Can't get out of bed without breaking something.
Bruh.
All right. Whatever you need to overcome obstacles, from getting a recipe done on time to fighting off an invading bugbear, it's a conflict. That's any time when someone is trying to stop you doing what you need to do. Conflicts are an important storytelling tool in the My Little Pony role-playing game as they test your character and their skills. Conflicts are not always violent. A friendly race is a conflict because you want to win. A duel of wills to see who can be the most stubborn is also a conflict.
Hey, we do that every day, honey.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What do
I'm
you
never
mean you
stubborn.
don't know? Isn't that stubborn of you to say?
Each of these moments adds tension as you don't know who is going to win and how the story will play out. Until you know
I
the result,
usually lose.
winning and losing conflicts can also teach your character about confidence and humility, among other things, depending on the result.
I guess I've learned a lot about humility since I keep losing. Bear ants. I don't know.
I told you that story.
Bear ants?
Yeah, a bear ant. I'll explain it when I feed you.
Food.
All right. Types of conflicts. Conflicts come in two types. Challenges. When you try to accomplish a challenging task, whether you're on your own or up against competition, it could be a goal you set yourself, a physical obstacle, or a contest, so long as no pony is intentionally hurting their competition. If lasting physical harm is at stake, that's not a challenge, it's combat. The most dangerous type of conflict, creatures in combat fight each other using their hooves, weapons, special abilities, and magic. Combats last until one side surrenders or is defeated. Ponies do everything they can to avoid combat, but every creature understands that fighting is sometimes unavoidable. All right. Tell us about basic conflicts.
Just as a interrupt, I don't know what Malachi thinks you're gonna feed me, but it better be a cupcake.
I was going to say it's going to involve
Or maybe a cinnamon roll.
I mean, there is a Cinnabon at the mall still.
That's crap. We can go get this other cinnamon rolls at the other place. Anyway, all right. Basic conflict. Why you gotta be so basic? All right. Combat and challenges are most rules heavy and a complicated part of any game. Whatever. There are a lot of different possible options and outcomes to consider. There are also a lot of outcomes and variables for the game master to keep track of. If you're not quite ready for running full-on conflicts, you can resolve any combat or challenge as a simple contest between the various parties. Both sides set the terms of what they're trying to achieve, and whoever wins gets the best results, gets to do what they were trying to do. If the conflict involves violence, the loser should also suffer at least one health damage. In a group conflict, each participant gets an opportunity to act and roll against whoever might be trying to stop them, whether they already have rolled this round or not. However, anyone who is constantly a target must suffer a penalty to their tests being outnumbered, for being outnumbered. If running conflict and combat works for you this way, you can skip to the next chapter. But if you want to develop your challenges, races, contests, and fights into something more exciting and possibly the focus of a scene, read on. So maybe this basic conflict is better for younger kids. I still don't see them reading these paragraphs and quite understanding.
No. This mom and dad are reading this and using it to run the games for the kids.
Holy cannoli.
And then on top of that, this is like having a basic conflict resolution and an advanced conflict resolution is usually pretty good anyways, because you don't always want a mass battle or a fight against a giant dragon. Sometimes you just need to do the hoof race versus another pony instead. And so you just need a simple way to resolve the conflict. So
okay, but why would you want to race? What's the purpose? What are you going to get from that?
I don't know. That's up to the game master. I'm just using
some of the things that I don't quite understand. Why would you do that?
Why would you? Okay, why would you have two ponies in a race? You're like there's a competition in Equestria, and the fastest pony gets to be a pony guard for the day. Okay,
maybe there's a monetary prize. Hey,
or there's a whatever it is. Again, there's like any kind. Remember, I'm trying to do something, and somebody else is either trying to do it instead or do it better than me. That's a conflict. It doesn't have to be combat. It doesn't have to be violent. It's literally just any kind of competition between you and another player or NPC. All right. Okay. Size, scale, and battle maps. While you can simply narrate any combat, some groups prefer to see exactly where every pony is throughout. To do this, you use a battle map, a sheet of squared paper with all the obstacles marked on it, giving everyone a Pegasus eye view of the area. Everyone then marks where their character is with a figure or token, moving them around the map as the conflict progresses. If you use a battle map, you should make sure it has a square pattern on it so you can mark distance. Usually, you should assume the scale of each square representing 5 feet on the map. A character running 15 feet would be able to move 3 squares. You can use this to measure running distance, spell ranges, and a pony's reach between opponents. If you don't use a map, that's fine. You can gauge using the narrative who is close enough to do what, and in any dispute, the game master makes a decision. Although in narrative conflicts, you can stick to the characters being near or far rather than 10 or 15 feet away. Most groups use a mixture of simple conflicts and challenges.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Yep. But often don't need
a full tactical battle map, but they can be very useful in fights with multiple opponents. Before we get too tactical, we should look at the various sizes and shapes of the characters who might be in a conflict. Not every creature in the My Little Pony role-playing game is the same size, and characters come in a variety of sizes that take up different amounts of space. The size classes table details all you need to know about the scale of any character, so you know who they are able to attack. Note that objects use the same categories. Pony player characters are usually considered common size. If a creature needs to squeeze through a door or the like, they can temporarily reduce their size by 1 step, but it takes a standard action, not a move action, as it's a tight squeeze.
So that reminds me of all the dungeon crawl games that we've played. And I
Yes.
dare I say it, but other than, or it, just like using a map with squares on it, I suppose you could use a map with hexes.
In this case, I wouldn't.
Well, I mean, if that's all you have, you can still like designate the 5 and the 10 and the 15 feet in a hex shape.
Yeah, no, you
I
you
mean, you've got weirder angles and corners, but it's not really gonna break anything.
the only reason I would say not to is just most maps for role-playing games are going to be in a 1-inch square. They're not going to be in a hex pattern.
Okay, I thought it was more hex flavored because I've
No,
seen your BattleTech stuff, and I thought
but
those
that's
were
because
hexes.
BattleTech uses hexes. D&D is almost exclusively squares.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
no, hey,
there we go.
I get it.
All right, map footprint.
Real quick,
Or you
folks,
want to go?
in this chart, we have size classes. So minute, tiny, small, common, large, long, huge, extended, gigantic, extended 2, towering, extended 3, and Titanic. Approximate size, map footprint, anywhere from 1 square up to a 5x5 or larger square. How many
Why
squares
is the
they can
squared
reach.
squared?
Wait, what?
Why is the square squared?
It's not. It's a footnote.
Oh. Bro, I'm gonna
Footnote
look
number
at
2.
that like an algebra
I know.
question, and get confused. I'm like, why is the square squared? That's too much math.
Right. And so then examples of creatures
Oh,
in that size category.
yep. That makes sense. A
All right.
tantabust. Tantabust. What the heck is a tantabust?
I
That
don't
sounds
know.
naughty. It sounds naughty.
Tell us about the map footprint.
Sounds like never mind. A red dot villain. Okay, while a character or object size class is determined by its physical size, its map footprint is the area defined by the 5-foot squares it occupies in combat. This is not necessarily the character's actual physical dimensions, merely a graphic representation of it within the confines of combating others. A typical pony, common size, is not actually 5 feet in width, but factoring in the distance they can reach with instinctual movements, inhabits a 5-foot by 5-foot area. Ah, man, you're doing geometry on me. All 5-foot squares on the map that are touching the map footprint of an object character are considered adjacent to it. I think I recognize that kind of rule. If you are using especially large characters in the fight, their map footprint can be quite intimidating. That's as it should be. Thankfully, they tend to move less, as they can usually reach everyone nearby. But if you have several titanic beasts fighting, you may want to scale up the size you assume each square to be so everyone fits.
All right. Reach. Just as characters take up a general area on the battle map, they also have an area around them they can interact with. This is called their reach. This value is the distance that extends from the object or character's map footprint to physically perform actions, most notably basic actions.
Basic melee attacks.
Basic melee attacks. I was guessing because I hadn't gotten there yet. If another character or object is within your reach, you can affect it with abilities measured in reach. When a combat includes creatures of different sizes, or if some creatures come armed with extended weapons, it's possible for one creature to be able to reach another, but not vice versa. Many melee attacks, notably those with weapons, can extend a character's reach, but only for that attack.
That always reminds me of Ben playing that dungeon game that we would play, dungeon crawl game. What was it called? Descent.
Descent.
Yeah, he always had reach and then some. Oh, that was hilarious. Poor Brian. Your baddies were always getting slammed.
Always.
Always.
If I
All
didn't
right.
know better, I'd say he cheats.
Yeah, he might have. Challenges: crossing an unknown forest rumored to be haunted, mining for crystals in a dangerous cavern, designing an absolutely, oh my gosh, I can't do French. Anyway, an absolutely, gorgeous evening gown, and making an impression at the year's most fabulous party are all examples of challenges. Au courant? I don't think that's how it sounds. Okay. Each can be resolved in a single action, or they could be strung together as the steps of one elaborate challenge where you need to gather materials for a gown for a party. When you have a goal in mind but obstacles in your way, the scene or series of scenes where you work to overcome those obstacles and reach your goal make a challenge. Achieving your goal can win you a positive outcome, but failures along the way have consequences. How do challenges work? If you picture a gaming session as an episode of a TV show or issue of a comic book, challenges represent both the hurdles the characters have to overcome to get through a scene and the issue at the heart of the plot. Excuse me. For instance, let's say Trixie returns to Ponyville to challenge Twilight Sparkle to a magic duel. The duel tests the unicorn's magical prowess and their creativity with tests of spellcasting and other creative skills. This duel is a short challenge taking place in one scene. Bragging rights are at stake. Let's say Trixie won. Based on what the game master knows about Twilight Sparkle, they decide the loss stings Twilight in her perfectionism. They start a new challenge for Twilight on her own, in which Twilight suffers self-doubt about her magical abilities. Imposter syndrome. For the duration of the new challenge, whenever Twilight fails a spellcasting skill set, she suffers stress to her smarts. The challenge ends when Twilight overcomes her self doubt. These two challenges are very different. One has clear rules, and the other is abstract. One is a competition, and the other is personal. One is self contained, and the other plays out in the background, overlapping with different scenes, combats, and even other challenges. Both tell a story, but with different pace, rewards, and tone. Characters can potentially use any skills, perks, or abilities in challenges if they are relevant to the task at hand. But unlike combat, there is no need to use rounds and initiative orders, etc. Each action in a challenge takes as long as it depending on or depending on what the challenge involves. A race might only take a few moments, a baking contest might take several hours.
Challenges can be friendly or hostile. They can be external or internal. They can be short or long, simple or complicated. And they can be physical, mental, emotional, or a combination of the three. You can also define them in three general levels: basic, complex, and preposterous. You don't always need to strictly define these elements. They're just tools to help work your challenges out. Some game masters prefer detailed outlines to help them run their challenges. Some like to pick a skill and a difficulty to make up the rest as they go. Both approaches are fine. You always have the option to ignore or modify any details that don't fit your style, as long as you clearly lay out what's important to running the challenge. Generally, challenges have all of the following: goal, what are you trying to achieve? 2, obstacles, what's stopping you from achieving your goal? 3, rewards and consequences, what do the players have to gain from accomplishing this goal? What happens if they fail? Participants, who can participate in the challenge? Can everyone contribute equally, or are most of the players there to support one main challenger? Are there rival challengers working against the players? 5, scope, how involved is this challenge and how difficult? All right.
I think this does this just go into detail about what we just listed? Yes, this is the detail. Do you want to do the detail?
Give me 1 second. Yeah, I think we're gonna skip this.
Do you want wait? Step 3 was rewards and Conquests. Consequences. I think we need to
All right.
go into rewards and stress, essence lost, and consequences. Maybe. Or well, no, that's all part of step 3, I guess. Okay. This is
Yeah.
really detailed.
Essentially, this is kind of the
It breaks everything down.
this is kind of the how to create an adventure kind of description.
Do we want to read it since we are specifically supposed to be talking about challenges and conflicts? I mean, this is a break it down
Yeah.
blog.
Give me 1 second.
It's not really a list per se. Those are
No,
easy
it's
to skip through, and this seems to have a lot of detail.
yeah, let's skip over just like because again, we broke like it breaks down the 5 points.
Right?
Get the book and read it, folks. Like I said, essentially it's how to create an encounter. Lots of games talk about it. It's, the basic building block of a role-playing game. So let's skip that. So we'll tie it up with the last couple of things.
Using challenges.
Yeah, using and sample challenges. So how about you do using for us?
Challenges add greater rewards to scenes and storylines, showing the stress working towards a goal puts a pony's mind or puts on a mind and body of a pony. Not every scene needs to include a challenge. Spacing them out separates a character's mundane activities from the ones that matter the most to them. Challenges work best when they tie into the character's origins, influences, and roles. If a challenge is based on needing to be honest and a character in the group embodies the spirit of honesty, it makes sense to have that character play a major part in it. Challenges can also be player driven. The game master establishes the elements in a scene and leaves it up to the players to use those elements to work together toward their goals. Other challenges are more structured, with the game master calling for specific skill tests when they are needed. And that paragraph is pretty much how I imagine D&D type games to be like, with it being player driven. So, for me, like the challenges that they describe being unique and specific to the character seems odd to me. I can't like visualize that because even playing on a board game where it was a dungeon crawl, um, I mean, it was a little more planned out, but we still got to decide, you know, what we were going to do. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
it wasn't really based on, "Oh, we need to go learn how to be honest," or "We're honest and we're going to fight someone who lies a lot." You know what I mean? It just I don't know.
Well,
These
what you're
emotional
thinking of is
well, what I'm thinking of is these emotional tie-ins that they do with the My Little Pony game, the fluffy sounding kind of things. And I'm not trying to disparage the game. I get that maybe this is kind of supposed to be the draw for kids anyway. It seems odd to me rather than the player-driven combat type game. There we go.
right. Well, and that's essentially what they're saying
Right.
is that, you know, you, you don't like you're thinking of it in terms of Descent, which is
Right.
literally taking a role-playing game and stripping the role-playing aspects out of it
Right.
and just dealing with the combat.
Right, the
Um,
conflict, and it is pretty much 100% conflict. There's not really challenges, you know what I mean? Character
right,
development challenges. That's where I
right.
was trying to go with it.
And right, and so that's the thing is that challenges are going to be something where
It's
you're
storytelling, isn't it? It's more
right,
storytelling.
it's more storytelling. I'm trying to use my baking skill to, successfully cater the birthday party
Right.
or, things like that where, so that's
That's
something a
obviously
player can
something I don't
drive.
it's something I don't have experience with, and so it seems kinda weird,
Right.
which I mean, I probably get the hang of it at some point, but
At some point.
I'm just waiting for, some monster to come up so I can stab it. Actually, I'm not going to stab it because melee is not my strength. I like to be ranged. So I'm just going to throw a bunch of bullets at it, or I mean, not bullets, arrows. Yeah.
All right. Sample challenge. The cutie map is a magical map showing the connections of friendship between every pony in Equestria. When those connections are challenged or become conflicted, the dispute is a friendship problem that needs to be fixed to maintain the harmony of Equestria. The cutie map sends Starlight and Sunburst to their old home of Sire's Hollow to find a friendship problem. When they arrive, they begin a challenge to find out more about who the friendship problem might involve. It's a simple external, it's a simple single goal. External, the difficulties are set by the difficulty of finding the information they're after. Mental and emotional, mostly alertness and persuasion or deception skill tests to gather information. Challenge that can be accomplished in about 10 minutes.
That was a lot of words.
Well, but the parentheses are the key here because they're trying to show you how to put this challenge together. Okay, simple. There's one goal. External. Difficulty is set by what you're trying to do.
Your example's weak. A friendship problem. Okay, but how do they know they have a friendship problem?
The cutie map is a magical map showing the connections of friendship between every pony in Equestria.
Okay, so one of the lines is broken then.
Right, the line is broken, or maybe it's glowing red or something to indicate there's a stress.
My brain did not realize that this was like not metaphorical. This was actual, like a physical thing they were looking at and noticing that there was a problem.
Right. This is telling you as a game master how you could create a challenge for people. So let me read this without the parentheses.
Oh, you don't have to. I get that part.
Well, no. It's a simple external mental and emotional challenge that can be accomplished in about 10 minutes. So basically they just broke down each little segment.
I don't think it'll be 10 minutes with me because I'll have 50 bazillion 11 questions.
That's fair. The game master running the scene describes Sire's Hollow to Starlight and Sunburst players. When the Friendship Express drops them off outside the gate and then asks, "So how do you want to do this?" The players could suggest making an alertness skill test to look for signs of a friendship problem, culture or streetwise to pick up the vibe of the town and feel out anything strange, or deception or persuasion to chat with the locals. The game master determines that there's no harm in looking around and that there's no particular obstacle to them doing so they can make the alertness skill test without worrying about suffering stress. They could use any of the other skill test options to complete the challenge, but the game master warns them that failing those tests might cause essence score loss as stress, since there is a lot of pressure on them to succeed in the challenge. Starlight and Sunburst players could choose for one to help the other on the skill test, or they could both roll skill tests of their own. They decide to each lean into their strengths, with Starlight using persuasion and Sunburst using culture. Sunburst succeeds, and the game master explains that Sunburst noticed the city has undergone some uncharacteristically drastic changes since his last visit. Starlight tries to chat with the local librarians, but she fails. The librarians sharply reject her attempts to enter the library and slam the door before she gets a word in edgewise. The rejection and fear that this cutie map mission... Yeah. The rejection and fear that this cutie map mission might have consequences she didn't consider deals stress to Starlight, reducing her social essence score by 1. The game master uses the fact that both characters grew up in Sire's Hollow to add a new twist. Starlight's father and Sunburst's mother arrive on the scene.
And they had an affair.
Dun, dun, dun. The parents play into their children's insecurities before trading snide remarks. Starlight and Sunburst both make alertness skill tests to gain insight into the passive aggression. Earlier, the game master didn't count an alertness skill test to look around as overcoming an obstacle, as it did not potentially generate stress. However, alertness skill test to gain insight into the passive aggressiveness of their parents does count as overcoming an obstacle. They both succeed and discover the friendship problem they're investigating. A difference in philosophy about the future of Sire's Hollow ended their parents' friendship. The simple challenge ends, and the game master allows Starlight to recover from her stress. But now a new and complex challenge begins, solving their parents' friendship problem.
You know what that was? That was politics right there.
It was fun.
There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Where things are divisive. Partisanship. Yeah. Big
There
word.
we go.
Big word. I hear the cat. Do you mind if I
Um,
do you want to feed the cat?
Here, I'll go check on him. You start on
Reading
combat.
combat. Okay. Go ahead. All right. Ponies and creatures of Equestria in general just want to live their lives, have fun, man, and be friends. But sometimes a meanie like King Sombra, Queen Chrysalis, or Lord Tyric tries to take Tyric? Tyric. I don't know. Tries to take advantage of the peaceful nature of other creatures. What's a pony to do? When friendship isn't an option, diplomacy has failed, or a danger needs to be dealt with right away. Sometimes you have to take the fight to the problem. Conflicts in My Little Pony role playing game mainly resolve through smarts and social excellence skills like culture and persuasion, talking and thinking rather than actually fighting. But every now and then, strength and speed essence skills like might or targeting are needed. If every conflict could be resolved peacefully, Canterlot wouldn't need shining armor and the equestrian guard. Pony time. Equestria is full of ponies, of course, but there are other friends and foes here too. For ease, creature or target refers to any sentient being that a pony may come across. Most actions use those words to define who and what the action affects, and sometimes certain actions can affect a whole group of creatures at once. Rules that apply to only to player characters or non-player characters will specify.
But
How does combat work?
all right. Combat is fast and dangerous, with creatures on both sides moving around the battlefield,
Yeah.
attacking up close or at range, or manipulating circumstances to their advantage. When a fight breaks out, the previous scene ends, and every creature involved rolls an initiative skill test. The combat plays out in order from the highest initiative result to the lowest. Once every combatant has taken their turn, the fight continues to the next round until one side is defeated or surrenders, and the other side accepts. Combat involves a lot of rules and options, but you need not use everything all at once. It is perfectly fine to just use the basic steps and worry about things like surprise, group initiative, and cover later on. Combat breaks down into these simple steps, which we'll go into more detail in below. 1. Set the scene. The players and game master determine the physical location of all creatures and obstacles at the beginning of the scene. Surprise. The game master determines if any combatants would be caught off guard. These creatures are surprised. Initiative skill tests. Everyone involved in the combat rolls an initiative skill test, setting the initial order of the combatants' turns. Combatants take turns. Each combatant takes their turn in initiative order from highest to lowest. On their turn, they can take a standard, move, and free action if they wish. Next round, all of the combatants involved in the scene take their turn. Whether they chose to use it or not, the round ends. Repeat steps 4 and 5 until the game master determines the combat is over.
And this is what I'm most familiar with all of the dungeon crawl games that we've played.
Right. But this one we are going to dig into a little bit more than we did with the conflict, just because it's combat and that's usually a lot more important in a role-playing game.
I love the picture that's coming up, by the way.
All right, we'll get there. All right. Time, turns, and rounds. Go ahead and tell us about that.
Usually, time in the MLP role playing game passes in scenes. A scene can be any length, but starts and ends when you would imagine a scene in a movie or TV show might end. If you go to Fluttershy's cottage to help her bake, the scene would start with you arriving and end with you leaving after baking the cake. Some magic lasts for a scene, so the spell would end when the action breaks. Some scenes are short, otherwise might be very long. If there's any doubt, they end when the game master decides when they do. A scene is commonly used when you encounter a creature, NPC, or threat. Such a scene lasts for the time you interact with the NPC, whether it is fighting the monster or making a deal with the NPC. When you leave or defeat the monster, the scene is at an end. That means some spells and effects can last for the duration of a combat, given few scenes end in the middle of a fight. In combat, time needs to be more carefully managed. When a fight breaks out, you switch from scenes to rounds. A round is the amount of time for everyone involved in the combat to act. And the time is what it takes to go around the group. Some chicken dragon characters might act at the same time, such as one picking a lock while the others fight off an enraged yak. Other times, it's the few moments it takes for everyone to wield a weapon with less than a second between each action, depending on everyone's reactions. Each character gets a moment when they can perform actions during the round, depending on the initiative order. This moment is their turn. So each round, you can take a turn, and on your turn, perform your actions. You can do something one round,
Once per round.
once per round. You can't do it again until the new round begins. If you can do something once per turn, you can only do it once when it's your turn to act. But both actually amount to the same thing. The reason we mention this is that some abilities last until your next turn, stopping just before you take your next action. If they lasted until the end of the round, their duration would be different depending on when you acted during the round. The terms turn and rounds are mostly interchangeable, but they can have a subtle difference on some cases. There are two types of time you should know about. Game time is how much time passes for the characters, but real time is how much time passes for the players. Combat might only take moments of a game if in a couple of rounds the characters have defeated their foe, but if the combat was complex, it might have taken an hour of real time as everyone calculated their attacks and tactics for the fullest effect. I am still hung up on that dragon chicken. All right, go ahead with initiative.
The first thing you need.
The irony is that you're talking about initiative, Mr. ADD man.
No, this isn't an ADHD problem. This is a motivation problem. The first thing you need to do in combat is figure out who goes when. This makes it easier to manage combat, so you don't want everyone shouting at once. When the combat starts, every combatant makes an initiative skill test to determine their place in the initiative order. If a combatant doesn't have any ranks in initiative, they roll a d20 with snag, just like any other untrained skill test. Two characters can't act at the same time. Creatures with the same initiative result hold a tiebreaker between them. Toss a coin, or the highest speed goes first. This doesn't affect the rest of the initiative order. If the tied scores are all NPCs, the game master can choose what order the combatants take their turns. Every pony in the fight is listed from highest initiative result to lowest to create the initiative order. This is the order in which the combatants take their turns. Unless altered by a game effect or action, the initiative order remains the same each round.
Oh, so I was wrong.
Yes. Initiative in role playing is who goes when.
Okay.
I
just always hear the phrase, roll for initiative, but my brain thinks that's, is the motivation to initiate the action.
No.
Yeah. I'm getting that now.
That's fine. All right. Let's.
You want me to read surprise? There's group initiative, resetting your initiative.
Yeah, we're going to skip over those because those are pretty
standard for all RPG games.
Yes.
Right.
So start with taking actions.
When the initiative order gets to you, you take a number of actions that comprise your part of the round. There are 3 types of action your characters can take on their go. However, if you want to simplify combat, you might just allow combatants to only use standard actions and then later add move and free actions when you have got the hang of things. Okay, so separating out the actions just so that everybody kind of gets it. Oh, you walked away. All right. Standard. The action you use to accomplish complex tasks like attacking, using skills, and many of your perks. The most common standard actions are described in the combat actions section later in the chapter. You can always trade in a standard action for 2 free actions. You can also use your standard action to sprint, which lets you use their standard action as an extra move action. Usually, the thing you really want to do that round will need to use your standard action for it. Move the action to get from one point to another, or make adjustments that only affect you, like drawing a two-handed weapon. That's interesting that you have to take that extra move action to get your weapon in your hands. That's
Well,
not
if you
that's more complicated than the dungeon crawl games that I've played
if you
before.
have if you have your sword in a sheath or the wrench in a toolbox or whatever, you know,
Well, yeah, I know that I've experienced having to use like a move action to pull something out of a bag or put something in a bag, but never to draw a weapon. Just saying.
same kind of a thing.
I get it, but I've never experienced that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Show your okay. Certain perks let you use actions that would normally be standard as move actions to show particular aptitude in that area. Your move action usually lets you do something you could do whilst doing your standard action. Free actions allow you to engage with the battle in minor ways. These are things that take either no time or you can do while doing other things like shout for help. It's important to note that you can use your 3 action types in any order. You might want to move towards an enemy before attacking, move then standard, or move away afterwards, standard then move. It's up to you to decide how best to apply what you want to do to your options of standard, move, and free actions, and perform them as you need in the order that suits your tactics. As always, based on the narrative situation and the scene, the game master decides whether any action is possible and that you need to do what you need to do in the game's terms to determine its success or failures. Remember as well that you don't have to use all 3 of your actions. If you are in the right place with the ready weapon, you might just want to attack your opponent and stay where you are to do the same next turn. That's fine too. Is there like an unlimited amount of free actions, or is that determined by yeah.
Sort of game master discretion.
Yeah.
Okay, so remember, a free
How
action
would you
is
know that you get that?
so. Okay, how long does it take you to shout for help?
Well, if I'm afraid, it's going to take a lot longer because I won't be able to squeak anything out.
Okay, okay. Keep it in simple terms. How long does it take you to shout for help?
Probably a few seconds.
Okay, how long does it take you to throw the thing that you're holding in your hand onto the ground?
A few seconds.
Okay. How long does it take to
shower after days of not showering? About 15 minutes.
Okay. So that would not be a free action. Is the point there. So free actions, if you can describe it in terms of this is just going to take a couple of seconds.
No. Right.
Then most likely the game master is going to let you do it. The catch is that if you're trying to say, "Oh, I'm going to do these 10 free actions," at that point the game master be like, "Okay, that's fine, but because of that you're not going to be able to use your move action, or maybe the only things you're doing are technically free actions, but you're doing so many of them that's the only things you get to do this turn."
It happened again, Brian. If I would have just kept going, it would have given examples of reactions. Oh, I'm so bad at this.
But again, those are good questions. And because of that,
I just can't get over the chicken dragon, and I feel like you need to make me a 3D printed chicken dragon because that would be freaking epic.
My. All
I
right.
need a chicken dragon.
So examples of free actions: opening or closing a door, using a simple item, aiming,
Would it be
pushing
a
your
chicken dragon? No, chicken. It would be
dragkin.
chicken.
Anyways, so
Dragon. They're both similar. I mean, they're pretty similar.
the way to think about it is, if it's just going to take you a few seconds, then it's a free action.
Right.
Okay.
Advanced
And right
rule
here, the game
multiple.
master has the final say on whether an activity requires a free action. Some might take no actions at all.
Okay.
Uh,
Are we going to talk about
oh, right
aiming?
here, advanced rule, multiple free actions. The game masters may allow characters to use as many free actions in a round as they have speed -2. If you are playing a combat heavy game or mixing different games, this may be helpful. But to keep things simple, one of each type of action should suffice in a given round.
All right. Well, there you go.
Like I said, game master discretion.
All right.
All right.
So now what do we want to cover?
Um
You want to cover the movements? There's a lot of movement
actually,
stuff.
okay, real quick, aiming. When attacking at range, such as with ranged weapons or spells, you can use a free action to aim. If a combatant spends a free action to aim their next range attacks, they receive 1 upshift on 1 attack this turn. If using the advanced rule for multiple free actions, this bonus can be +1 for each free action they spend.
You know what never got figured out when our boys were younger?
What?
Aiming into the toilet.
uh
Anyway, boy problems.
All right. Move actions, getting from one place to another, gross motor actions, and more significant or complex actions that you're particularly talented at all count as move actions. Note that some special actions from perks might allow you to perform actions that don't just involve moving on your move action. Most common use for your move action is to travel a distance up to your movement. You can use any amount of your movement on your turn to move, but choosing to move any amount requires your move action. While this is mostly useful if you have a map you are moving figures and tokens on, even when playing a purely narrative game, it gives you a good idea of what sort of distance your character can cover. If there are no obstacles, you can move as you like, but there are some options and penalties the game master might like to allow or make use of below. When dealing with objects, it is easier to consider your movement rating as a points bank that usually costs 1 foot to move 1 foot. But this cost may increase if the terrain isn't easy going.
But I thought we established that the boxes were equivalent of 5 feet. That would take a lot of movement points to move if you were doing a 1-to-1.
Not necessarily, because if you have, if each square is 5 feet and you have a movement of 15 feet,
Then you
well,
can
then if I
move 3
move,
squares. Yes, I get that, but, like, that part had me worried. I'm like, "What if you only have a movement of
this
1?"
is more like the 1 foot to move 1 foot is more for a narrative description. I'm going to move 8 feet. Okay.
Okay.
Um, you know,
So
but
it doesn't
again,
really have anything to do with the squares, per se.
correct. And
Okay.
so I'm going to go back to bad editing, because they said when dealing with objects, it is easier to consider your movement rating as a points bank. So it should be that usually costs 1 point to move 1 foot. Okay. Because so what they're going to get into is, it's like rough terrain, briar patches, rocky gorges, muddy valleys. There are no limits to what might be the next place you find yourself embattled. These sorts of places are littered with rough terrain. Movement through rough terrain costs double, so you'd spend 2 points per foot of movement. So even though you have a movement of 15 feet, to go into that 5-foot square, it's going to cost you 10 points of movement.
Sure.
Anyways, it's essentially, they're going to make this complicated because anyway, that's just some horrible editing.
All right. So what are we doing now?
All right.
Types of
So
movement?
lying prone, rough terrain, moving near other, those are pretty standard. moving near other characters, unless you are 2 size classes larger or smaller than a character, moving through a space adjacent to a non-allied character is considered to be moving through rough terrain.
Right.
Unless you are climbing, mounting, or combining with another character, you can never end your turn in a space occupied by another character. That's normal.
Interesting. I
That's
don't feel like that's normal in the games that we've played.
no. Could
I thought it was
you ever
I thought we couldn't move into their space because they're occupying it.
correct?
Right.
That's what it said.
Okay.
Yeah, you could. You basically
It just
said if they're
sounded backwards.
if they're friendly, you can move through it. If they're not friendly, you can't move through it.
I'm gonna move through you, bruh.
Whoa, this is
Anyway.
a family show.
Is it?
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. Tell us about standard actions.
All right. The action that affects other combatants the most is your standard action. Often you'll use your move action and free actions to set up your standard action, or to make it harder for your opponents to use their most potent standard actions against you. Essentially, your standard action is the one you use to do what you really want to do this round. The following actions require you to use a standard action: attack, contingency, defend, hide, lend assistance, sprint, and use a non-combat skill. For game masters, some creatures have unique combat action options in their threat entries. If these actions are drastically different from what is typically available, their individual information gives the details on how to use them in a combat scene.
All right, so let's look at attack, contingency, and defend. I think we've kind of talked about all the others.
Okay. The most common standard action is to attack. You can either use a melee attack when you are right next to someone, or a ranged attack if you're far away, or you might even use a magical beam attack. With this action, you make one melee or ranged attack. The making an attack section deals with the steps to determine hits, damage, and other effects. Some options allow you to make more than one attack using a single standard action. When this occurs, the individual attacks can take place at any time during your turn and still count as a single action. So that would be like having 2 knives and stabbing one with each hand. You're using
Yes.
one with each hand. Okay. Because I think, isn't that something Ben did a lot? He had like a sword in one hand and an axe in another. He just went whoosh, whoosh,
Sometimes.
whoosh. Killed your bad guys. Okay. Go ahead, contingency.
Sometimes you want to get the jump on a foe or wait for a particular circumstance to arise to take your action. To do so, you can use a standard action to set a contingency action on your turn. This lets you prepare to perform a predetermined action after your place in the initiative order, but before the start of your next turn, assuming circumstances align with your plans. When setting up a contingency action, you decide what sort of situation triggers your action, described as clearly as possible. Then you choose the kind of standard, move, or free action you take when and if that trigger occurs. Examples include, if some pony I don't know gets within 30 feet of the gate I'm guarding, I'll intimidate them. And if one of my friends grabs the magic amulet we're here to recover, I'll teleport them out of here. More simply, if some pony attacks me, I'll attack them back.
Well, what if what if it doesn't trigger? Or wait, should I just let you finish?
When the trigger occurs, you can either take your contingency action right after the trigger finishes or forfeit your contingency altogether. You must take your contingency action before the beginning of your next turn, or it is automatically forfeited.
So you wasted your turn based on what you thought might happen the next
right. You're preparing for something to happen, but if it doesn't happen, then you wasted your turn.
That reminds me of that Colt Express game, the programming game, where you tried to anticipate if you'd be shooting a gun at someone or picking up treasure in the room.
At first, I was wondering where you're going with that, but no, that's actually a good point. Yes, you are trying to anticipate what's going to happen. So it's they call it contingency. Other games would call it a held action. Sure. You know, there's a variety of terms for it. Old school Warhammer would call it Overwatch. But basically you're hoping something that will happen and that you'll get an advantage to doing it.
Right. Well,
But
and the examples were fairly solid because it made sense, but like my brain couldn't think of anything that I would want to plan for in advance of without
right,
having those examples. So at least it doesn't seem like it 100% would necessarily be useless.
right. Defending as a standard action allows you to increase your defenses momentarily against any incoming attacks you are aware of. After announcing a defend action, attacks targeting you that you are aware of and reasonably aware of on and reasonably actively defend yourself against suffer snag on their attack roll. This benefit lasts until the beginning of your next turn. So you can
So,
basically say, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just
right,
going to keep my shield up. So you don't
right.
really
But
get to
like you probably would want to use that if the bad guy was like right next to you, right?
depends. Like,
Or
say,
maybe you know that you're a weaker player and you probably couldn't beat up the bad guy.
or you could use it to like get yourself in between the bad guy and another player character. So, like, say you have a big
As a
shield.
body shield. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So they need to finish something. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to get in the way and I'm going to use a defend action. And so I'm going to be the target of the attack and they're going to roll a snag on it.
So it'll be weakened anyway because of the shield. Okay.
I'm just throwing out
Yeah,
examples.
right. Okay. Do you want me to read hide?
Um, no, we all know what hiding is. I hope.
Do we want any of the others?
No, those are all
Maybe.
normal as
Are
well.
you
Go to
sure you don't?
melee attacks.
What are you sure you don't want me to do non-combat skill?
That's
Because
just
that's
using
acrobats. I just
that's
saw
using a
that.
non-combat skill. So you're not hitting somebody. You're using a
Right.
skill in combat.
Okay. All right, melee attacks. Before we dive into the complexities of making an attack, we should take a look at the types of attack you might make. Remember, with the following, it is all there to help you out. Players will often try to describe all manner of weird attacks and maneuvers, and hopefully you'll find the rules you need to manage it here. But if no one ever tries to use a type of attack or combat option, you don't need it. Melee attacks allow you to attack a foe within your attack's reach. A melee attack typically uses a handheld weapon, such as an axe or a sword, but it also can be an unarmed attack. Fisticuffs. Melee attacks are usually made with a might or fitness skill test, as indicated by the weapon. If it offers the option of both, it is up to you which to use. To hit someone with a melee weapon, you need to be within reach of them. Already talked about that. Some very long melee weapons may allow you to be as much as twice as far away and hit. So probably like this was it a
The
spear
pole arm.
or the pole, right? Pole. Obviously, being far enough away from an opponent that they can't hit you, but you can hit them, offers a significant advantage. Hoof jutsu. Jutsu. Hoof jutsu. Yeah. Are you gonna do the ninja pony?
All right. You don't need a weapon to make an attack. Ponies can swing a punch with their hooves, but a shoulder block or any muscly or bony body part works too.
I
The
got a sharp
style,
elbow.
yeah, yes, you do. The style of fighting unarmed will differ for each pony. Are they a boxer, a street fighter, a martial artist? If they are skilled in combat, you might want to develop a fighting style to help you narrate the combat. Some creatures have natural weapons like claws and teeth or a spiked tail. These are considered unarmed attacks as they don't use a fabricated weapon, but they are equally dangerous. Unarmed fights typically use might or finesse skill tests against the target's toughness or evasion to see if they hit, and deal 1 stun damage by default. You can take a downshift on your skill test to deal blunt damage instead of stun damage. Creatures with claws like Spike or Gallus can deal blunt or sharp damage instead.
All right.
Grapple. Let's do
You
grappling.
want to do grapple? Grappling is a type of maneuver that you can use in unarmed combat and sometimes with special melee weapons to grab onto a creature, pin them, or wrestle with them. Sounds dirty. The target of your grapple must be no more than size classes larger than you. It must be within your attack's reach. Grappling always targets a creature's evasion unless they have the ability that lets them dictate their defense. Additionally, if your attack suffers a down 1 for each size class, the target is larger than you. If you are grappling some pony, it takes up all your actions, although you can release the grapple as a free action. If you wish to move a grappled target, you must beat them in a might contest, and if successful, then you may move or use a move action to move half one of your movements. If the target is unconscious, you need not make the might skill contest. But if they're resisting, the might skill contest must be made every time you try to move. If you are successful, your target gains the grappled condition. A grappled target a grappled target can, as a standard action, try to escape with an acrobatics, athletics, brawn, or finesse skill test against the grappler's toughness. Has a movement of 0 for all movement types, only applies to the target. However, both the grappler and the target also both suffer the following penalties. Suffers snags on skill tests not related to escaping or maintaining the grapple. Grants edge to any melee attacks that targets their invasion. For this reason, it is a good idea to only grapple creatures when you have friends to help you deal with them.
Okay. A lot of games struggle with grapple rules, so this
This one
actually is.
doesn't seem. I don't know. It doesn't seem
It
that
actually seems pretty
intimidating.
standard. Make a successful attack against their might, uh, against their toughness or evasion, and if you hit, then wait, no. Where is it? No, against their evasion.
Well, isn't grappling basically
It's wrestling.
pulling right? Well, no, I thought it was like pulling the person to you so you could hit them with your melee
No,
weapon.
it's wrestling.
Oh.
So you're trying to pin them.
Which is why I had the comment in the beginning. Yeah, but what is it? Yeah, but it said something about dragging people. Like if they're
So
unconscious, you can move them around. That seems a little weird. If you wish to move a
if the
grappled
target
target,
is unconscious, you need not make the might skill contest. But
right?
if they are
Resisting the might skill contest must be made every time you move. But it says if you wish to move a grappled
if they're
target, you must beat
unconscious,
them.
I don't have to fight them.
Right? Okay, but you've wrestled them, whatever, and you beat them in the might contest. But then it says you can move them. Look at the first sentence of that paragraph. If you wish to move a grappled target.
Yeah. I've got you in a let's think about the time that I put you out of the apartment. Okay.
You pushed me out.
No, but I had to grapple you because you're
You
going
put
a
my
little
arms down.
nutty. And so picking you up, I'm not moving as
You
fast.
still
It's
blame me for that.
harder. Whatever. I'm just using it as an example that you can relate to.
Yeah,
But
but that's
I
terrible. You're like
look,
throwing me under a bus for past
no,
transgressions.
I am not. I am just using it as an
Very
example.
old past transgressions.
Can you
Bruh.
let me finish,
No,
woman?
why would I do that? All right, let's move on.
No, let me finish this so
No,
you understand.
don't do shoving and tripping, which is what I felt like you were doing anyway.
No, but again, so I'm
Shove.
having to hold you. I'm trying to move with you. You are fighting against it. So I don't get
Naturally.
to move as far, and I'm trying to make you do something.
You're gonna get in trouble for putting this on the internet, bro.
No, again, so that's an example of using a grapple and trying to move at the same time. Basically,
Yeah.
you're holding the person and you can
No, no,
move
no,
with
no, no.
them,
I
but
have a better example. I have a
okay.
better example. You have tried to throw me in a swimming pool on multiple occasions. What do? I turn into a barnacle so that you have to go with me. into the water.
That's a similar example.
You could have just used that one because that's innocent and fun.
All right, actually, let's skip
Shoving
shoving and tripping.
and
Let's go to
tripping.
ranged attacks because I'm trying to get through this section, and we're already at 2
See,
hours
the
and
problem with
15 minutes.
tripping is that I just trip and I don't, it's not malicious.
No
It's
one has to make
part
a
of my,
roll against you.
exactly. All right, ranged attacks.
Ranged attacks allow you to target creatures from afar. These attacks might be from a weapon like a bow or a crossbow, but might just as easily be a spell, talent, ability, or a confetti cannon. Ranged attacks have a range instead of a reach. If the target is within the range of the weapon, they can be hit with it. Some ranges are listed with 2 numerical values, such as range 50/200. The first number is the normal range of the attack. Any target at that range or closer can be attacked with no penalty. The second number is the maximum range of the attack. If the distance to your target is greater than the first number but less than the second, it is considered long range attack and suffers a snag. Okay, nice and simple. Some ranged weapons have a minimum range, such as a cannon. Attacks with these weapons can't be made closer than their minimum range, or at least suffer snag if the game master allows it. If you use a ranged attack within the reach of an enemy, whether or not that enemy is the target of the attack, you suffer 1 downshift on the attack per enemy.
What?
I'm trying to shoot a bow. There's 4 people next to me trying to make me not shoot the bow. I have to downshift 1 for each bad guy next to me trying to stop me from shooting.
Because you are running out of time to get it done.
Or they're trying to hit the bow and mess
Right.
up my accuracy, or they're trying to trip me so that I shoot into the air or
Do
whatever.
we want to talk about kicking or blast attacks from my butt?
Let's do blast attacks.
Alrighty. Some attacks, such as the explosive beam spell, affect an area instead of a target. Attacks with an area of effect are noted as having a blast effect, followed by a shape and a range in feet. It is perfectly fine for the GM to adapt any blast area into a simpler shape as long as it covers roughly the same area, but you should make these areas clear to any magicians before the game. The shapes and how to apply them. There's cone, radius, blast, and that's that.
All right, area attacks. Read that last.
On the example with Discord?
No, each target applies.
Oh, right. Each target applies their individual benefits, such as perks and cover, and then the attacker compares their result to each target in their area. Individual targets within the area might not be affected, while others are, based on their defensive scores or defense scores.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Making an attack is a specific form of skill test. As usual, you're picking a skill, adjusting for modifiers, and rolling against a target number. However, like most aspects of combat, when compared to other scenes, attacks are more granular and tactical. Whether you're attacking a target or targets, a creature or an object, you must overcome one of their defenses for an attack to have any effect. This includes attacks in melee and at range, with hooves. These. Oh my god!
I don't know.
This editing is so bad.
And we're already over by a half an hour, so I don't know where we can cut.
We can finish this. It's not too many more pages, and there's going to be pictures.
Okay.
All right. 1, acquire target. So pick a target within range or reach. Declare effect. Many attacks have multiple effects, some of which shift your skill die. Declare which of your attack effects you wish to apply to your target if your attack succeeds. Modifiers. The game master determines what upshifts and downshifts apply to your skill die and whether edge or snag applies to your d20. Once all applicable modifiers are calculated, note the skill die you'll be using for the attack skill test. Determine applicable defense. Work with your game master to decide on the best of the creature's defenses for your attack to target. Toughness, evasion, willpower, or cleverness. Roll attack skill test. Roll a d20 in the applicable skill die to try and equal or surpass the target's defense. Results. Did your skill test equal or surpass the target's defense? Was your attack a critical success? A high degree of success? A fumble? Now is also a good time to remember that you can use a friendship point to reroll a 1 on a skill test should you be dissatisfied with your result. All right. And apply effects if successful. If your attack equaled or surpassed your target's defense, apply the effects of your attack. If your attack was a critical success or had a high degree of success, you may apply additional effects as well. All right. And
They go into detail on all of those.
right. It just details all of that. Great. All right, real quick.
Advanced combat rules.
Yes.
Ponies can do some pretty fanciful things, and so the following is a toolbox for the game master when they need to rule to cover some strange or unusual circumstance. Multiple targets. Unlike a blast, attacks that target multiple creatures individually are more susceptible to special defenses. An attack that can affect multiple targets will have a note saying it affects X targets, where the X is the maximum number of targets it can affect. To resolve this sort of attack, roll on an attack skill test against each target, applying any modifiers individually for each target, and then applying the effects individually as well. So
Okay.
is this more of the multiple targets? Is that more of a rule for a game master? Because it seems like the ponies would be very limited in how many targets they could hit.
Basically, well, again,
Because they only get one standard action.
it
This seems
says
like it's going to be multiple standard actions.
an attack that can affect multiple targets will have a note saying it affects X targets. So
Okay.
I have a repeating crossbow. All right. It can hit 4 targets. So basically,
I just thought of like, is it Robin Hood Men in Tights where he's got the bow that has like 5 arrows that can come out of it or something ridiculous?
exactly that.
Okay.
And so the thing is that because every target may have different defenses, you would technically roll 5 separate attacks. But you're allowed to do that because, either the attack or the weapon or whatever it is tells you that you get to.
Okay.
All right.
Multi-weapon attacks cover. What would you like to do?
Yeah, multi-weapon attacks. Some attacks are multi-weapon attacks. This means the attacks come from 2 or more separate weapons simultaneously, the X being the number of implements evolved. Multi-weapon attacks can be used in 2 ways, striking X targets or striking one target X times. If targeting multiple targets at once, up to X, then each target receives its own attack roll with its own modifiers. Targeting a single target with X implements, a single attack roll is made against the target with a number of 1 upshifts on the attack equal to X minus 1. Additionally, attack... No,
that one doesn't make sense to me, but let's go.
All right. You're allowed to make 5 attacks. So I can either attack 5 targets.
No, I get that part. It's okay. Specifically that paragraph. Just move on.
No, hold on. It's actually pretty easy. Or I can throw all 5 attacks at one person.
One person. Yes, that I know. I understood that part.
Hold on. But instead of rolling 5 separate attacks, I get a number of upshifts minus 1. So I would get 4 upshifts on my skill die.
So that would make the one hit more powerful.
Yes.
Technically, it equates to hitting it 5 times, but it's also more powerful.
Correct.
With the one roll. Okay. Now that makes sense. Sorry.
I knew you'd get it. Just needed to explain. All right. Additionally, attacking with an offhand weapon like a parrying dagger in your offhand or going in with 2 pistols blazing is a type of multi-weapon attack. For saying, oh, there's no guns. There's no guns.
Why is there a rule for pistols?
They mention a lot of guns.
They have grenades. They have what was the old timey gun they were talking about? Flintlocks, and now they have pistols.
Yes. When wielding more than one weapon, you can attack.
I'm feeling better about my Second Amendment rights.
Attack once each as a single attack action. Without training to wield 2 weapons accurately, your primary attack suffers a 1 downshift, and your offhand attack suffers a 2 downshift. So basically, you're not good at using 2 weapons at once. All right. Cover, obviously rules for making you harder to hit because you're behind a tree. Let's see. All right. Damage, dealing, and health, and that should finish us off. Go ahead and start us off.
Injuries and wounds are constant companions for the protectors of Equestria. Battling beasts with giant fangs and claws, cunning spellcasters, and power villains. I just figured powerful villains who combine physical might with powerful magic comes at great risk to a creature's health. It doesn't matter where you take damage from, be it combat or falling off something, the effects and recovery are the same. Health represents a combination of physical and mental durability, the will to live, and luck. Creatures with more health are more difficult to defeat. Those with less health are more fragile and easier to overtake in combat and in a battle of wills. When you suffer harm, you reduce your health by a number of points, hopefully not too many. This represents how bruised, battered, and otherwise injured you currently are. Welcome to your 40s. Whenever you take damage, the damage is subtracted from your current health. When you reach 0 health, you are defeated. Nice how it didn't say dead. Anyway.
Yes.
There's a lot of damage types. I figure we don't need to actually cover that.
Well, this is size, class, combat adjustments matrix. So is that ability to hit or okay. Damage types, acid, blunt, cold. Needless to say, they give you effects for that. Feel free to read. Laser guns and devices shoot lasers.
Yeah, they have more advanced guns than they're admitting to.
There's no guns, but there's a lot of guns.
There's lasers. And not just the pointer kind that attract cats.
All right. When a creature is reduced to 0 health, they are defeated. When a creature is defeated, they can no longer take actions normally, but can spend a friendship point to momentarily act as though they have not been defeated. The defeated character is either unconscious or must comply with the force that defeated them. It is important to remember that defeated means defeated. The contest was your chance to win, and it failed. If there is no threat of loss, there is no glory in victory. So everyone at the table should be ready to suffer defeat at some point in the game. When defeated, no matter how much damage is dealt to defeat you, you are reduced to 0 health. But 0 health doesn't always mean unconscious or insensible. It just means no longer able to put up a fight. How they feel after the loss will depend on the battle. A physical fight might leave them hurt and unconscious, but a battle of wills might leave them tired and confused.
That's every day.
When an NPC is reduced to 0 health, the Game Master determines the nature of their defeat. They might find it best for the story to remove them from the game and write them out of the campaign, or they can treat them as conscious and able to answer questions, just not able to keep fighting. They might even just be forced to leave town, vowing to return. The Game Master can even determine that an NPC was defeated in such a way that they can't regain health unless something truly powerful is applied to restore life.
So is that like the comic books where nobody ever dies?
They
just leave town and are vowing to return.
They are going out of their way to not say dead.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The Game Master can even determine that an NPC was defeated in such a way that they can't regain health. Why would you not be able to regain health?
And here's something fun. It says here a defeated character is either unconscious or must comply with the force of the defeated them. So the force that defeated them might be a necromancer, and so they're like zombies now.
Maybe
zombie ponies.
Anyways, but yeah, they were absolutely trying to avoid saying dead.
Because in Equestria, nobody dies. They just get rebuilt as a better person. Because friendship
have the technology.
Magic. Friendship is magic.
All right, tell us about healing.
Heating? Well then. Thankfully, health loss and defeat are not permanent. Health can be restored in a number of ways. Rest restores a creature's health. 6 hours of sleep within a 24-hour period removes all damage and usually all essence damage if applicable. I need 8 hours, bro, or I'm not functioning. Additionally, as a standard action, characters can give each other medical aid, which may require a kit. Using science, medicine, skill tests, they can restore health to living creatures. If the target, but they went ahead and put in living creatures. If the target is within reach, because all the creatures that are having health damage should be living, right? So why specify that? I don't know. If the target is within reach, the diff of the skill test to restore health is equal to 5 plus 5 per health you want to restore. If you want to restore 1 health, the diff of the skill test is 10. If you want to restore 4 health as a single standard action, it requires diff 25 skill test. I did not math that at all. Okay. When
It's,
a creature,
the difficulty is
it's
5
times 5. Yeah. I know. I just
plus
did
1
it.
per health point.
My brain hurts. Don't make me math. When a creature regains health, it is added to their current health up to their maximum.
All right. Damaging objects and items. Not every target is a creature. You can attack an object or item directly in the hopes of damaging or destroying it. If the object being targeted is being carried by a creature, the attack is against the evasion defense of the creature holding it. Otherwise, it is against the toughness of the object. The object size class may modify this. If successful, the object takes the effort of the attack. The toughness of objects are based on what they are predominantly made of. Their toughness can also be used as their starting health. At 0 health, the object is destroyed. In some cases, the game master will allow the object to be struck without a test or destroyed automatically. Usually, what matters for the story is not whether the object can be destroyed, but how long it takes to do so. This could lead to the mass destruction of property, like buildings and sections of wooded forest. Depending on how the PCs handle this sort of thing, such wanton disregard for public property could cause problems for them in the future. All right.
Tell that to the
magic in combat.
Okay. Spellcasters can change the landscape of a battle more than most other creatures. Spells can do anything from attack from a great distance, turn a pony into a combat juggernaut, or manipulate the minds of enemies to forget why they were fighting. However, in combat, magic's cost weighs more heavily on a spellcaster than ever. The pressure to not only cast the right spell in the moment, but save spellcasting potential for future problems takes planning most combatants don't need to worry about.
Casting.
Okay, go ahead.
Casting in combat. As a reminder, any other time you cast a spell, your spell has a cost. To cast a spell, you must determine its cost, then downshift your spellcasting skill by that amount before casting the spell. Normally, downshifts only apply for a single roll, but the cost of spellcasting lingers. After you downshift your spellcasting skill to pay the cost of a spell, your spellcasting skill remains downshifted. You regain 1 upshift spellcasting per round until your spellcasting skill returns to normal. As a result, you need to strategize your spellcasting, or you might find yourself without enough spellcasting to pay the spell's cost. If you have been casting spells before the combat starts, your spellcasting skill will already be downshifted. The player should keep track of this. However, as time works differently in and out of combat, the game master may offer a bonus or penalty to the character's current downshift before moving to combat rounds. Casting near enemies. Casting spells takes delicacy and leaves the spellcaster vulnerable to nearby enemies, like when making a ranged attack. If you cast a spell within the reach of an enemy, whether or not that enemy is the target of the spell, you suffer 1 downshift on spellcasting skill test per enemy. So they're trying to distract you, they're trying to make you laugh, they're trying to punch you in the face, whatever it is. It's harder to cast a spell around other people. All right.
We made it.
We made it.
We made it to exploration,
which we're not going to cover tonight. So come back next week, everybody.
And we will explore exploration and try to keep it G-rated. Hey.
Kim's not very good at that.
No.
But
Innuendo, man.
Man, this one, I am super frustrated with this editing. There are so many mistakes that just do like at this point, the fact that they haven't gone back and fixed the mistakes in the PDF is actually really annoying and really disappointing.
Sure.
But overall, I mean, the game just kind of the game very much reminds me of D&D. That's one reason that I skipped over a lot of those sections. Because if the player has any familiarity with those rules, even if they're different, they're gonna understand how to implement these into the game. So I wasn't worried about that. So all right, any final thoughts before we end for the day?
I'm hungry. You should feed me. And the
Okay,
chickens are probably, hopefully not
they should be in
outside
bed.
of the coop. I don't know. Those baby ones are retarded.
That's true. All right, let's go figure that out. Everybody, thanks so much for watching. Real quick, come back tomorrow. We're going to finally have an episode of Topics and Tangents. I've got Tom Mason coming to talk with me about miniatures and the Kickstarter he's got coming up. But everybody, thank you so much, and we will talk to you next time.
Okay, bye.